Happy Mythic Plus season start, everyone. In this video, I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes going over some tips or damage rotational things for Mythic Plus. I might also hint and talk about the raid rotation just a little bit because I never got around to making a video this last week. I've definitely been teasing my masterclass series, and I hate to do that again, but it is a project that has changed direction and vision a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. And because of that, it's just kind of put a delay on it. So I do expect to have that out soon. But unfortunately, with like my work schedule and some other stuff that's come up in real life, I just haven't been able to finish it yet. So I do apologize for that. So I'm hoping that at least this gives you a little bit of information to work with before I release that kind of masterclass. It's going to be a pretty long video, and I definitely want it to be a spectacle in some kind of way. My goal with that is to have it like a long-term piece of content. But anyways, I don't want to rant about that too much. Let's focus on some things for Mythic Plus. So if you're going into Mythic Plus this week, you can play Master of Harmony, and I'll talk about that in a second, but most likely Brewmaster players will be playing Shado-pan. There's a lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of strengths that the class has currently. It generally takes less damage. It's a little bit burstier because of the kind of rein in that Blizzard did for Master of Harmony. It now has a more similar single target palette. So all in all, Shado-pan is probably just going to be the better choice for Mythic Plus for the foreseeable future, at least until the 0.5 patch, or if there are any other kind of major tuning passes over the next couple weeks. The build that I have on screen is most likely going to be what Brewmaster players are running. Now, there are alternatives to this. There are some players who do like to play into high tolerance. I've seen some Brewmasters not play Zen State and play high tolerance as well. You can also ignore Counter Strike. You can also put Black Ox, or sorry, Walk with the Ox into like Elixir if you need a little bit more healing. There are definitely options here that you can play around with. I have some builds in my Discord if you're interested, but this is what you're looking at. Now, when it comes to the rotation, just in case you're a new Brewmaster player and you don't really know, the standard rotation, ignoring hero talents, is generally going to be Keg Breath, Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm. That's generally the standard rotation. It's a four cast sequence, and you're going to keep repeating that over and over again. And when you do have gaps, let's say Keg Smash is still on cooldown and you're out of both charges, that's when you're going to drink Celestial Brew. Now, throughout combat, you're also going to be chugging Purifying Brews, so you're going to be getting resets or potential resets on your Keg Smash due to your Apex talent. The Apex talent is really what's making Brewmaster work right now, and it's something you're really going to want to try to lean into. And what I mean by that is you should be using most of your brews super aggressively. And that's not just Purifying Brew, and that's not just Celestial Brew or Celestial Infusion, which again, I don't know why I'm talented in Celestial Brew. But anyways, you want to be hitting these often to get those resets, because it's not only the reset, but it's also the fact that it causes your next Keg Smash to be free. It costs no energy, making energy essentially irrelevant. But if you're in a position where you're in combat and you're finding yourself out of energy, it's probably because you're not leaning into the Apex talent enough, which means you're not drinking brews, essentially what I'm trying to say. Basically, when you're playing Brewmaster, or Shado-pan specifically, you're going to go Keg Breath. Keg Breath is generally your rotation and AoE, and then you're going to fill with Blackout Kick. And what I want to do is I'm going to actually go to Algothar Academy, and I'm going to do like the first pull and kind of just talk about what your opener is going to look like in large AoE, assuming you have all of your cooldowns, and just like all your resources available. So let me go ahead there really quick and we'll talk about that. Now, the rotation I'm going to be talking about when I'm in Algothar is mostly going to be in relation to large AoE in cooldowns. Now, generally when you're outside of cooldowns, you're still going to try to go Keg Breath, Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm. But if you do spend your Blackout combo on Keg Smash, it's not the end of the world. If anything, you're arguably trying to get a DPS gain there, because you're essentially getting more reduction on your brews, and the more brews you can cast, the more resets you get on Keg Smash, ultimately turning into more cooldown reduction and more damage and Breath of Fire resets. So there is there is merit to both. Some people will say, well, you should only ever Tiger Palm. Some people are going to say you should only Keg Smash, but ultimately it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What really matters is making sure you're getting threats, positioning properly, and then using your cooldowns correctly. So we're going to be grabbing the Critical Strike buff in Algothar Academy, just to kind of throw that out there, and I'm going to be running up and doing this first pull. Now, I believe they're actually reducing the potency of these pins, so I don't think you're going to be getting 5% crit anymore, but you will be getting a little bit. So as we're going to this first pull, I'm going to grab these Lasher packs over here using Ox Statue. We'll taunt this Lasher, and then I'll throw a Keg over here, just to get Shuffle up. So now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get grouped. So I'm going to get a quick reset. We're going to Keg, then I'm going to Cow, then I'm going to Breath, Keg, Breath, we're going to Purify. I'm going to Exploding Keg, which resets Keg back into Keg Breath. And then if I want to, I can Blackout Kick, maybe fill with the Tiger Palm. And then I can Fort Brew to guarantee that reset back into a Keg Breath. And then I'll start fishing with Black Ox Brew. And so with those resets, I'm just going Keg Breath. As much as I possibly can. Once I'm out, I'm obviously going to start kind of filling. We got a reset there, so Keg Breath. And that's obviously going to allow me to do some pretty insane damage. I will end up perishing here because this is a massive pull. But as you can see, if we look at our damage breakdown, it's going to be mostly Flurry Strikes and Breath of Fire. And that Breath of Fire is translating into our healing. So if I click over on my healing here, you're going to see Vital Flame ended up being 30, is this right? 42, 43%? I don't know why I saw DPS here. But it ends up being a tremendous amount of our healing. So inside of your cooldown, as you're gathering a pull, you're going Keg to get, threat, to get Breath of Fire active. And then once you activate your cow, your Black Ox, your capstone is causing you to launch out Flurry Strikes. Also, for some reason, I thought, why does this say 9? I always thought it was 3 Flurry Strikes. Am I crazy? Maybe I'm insane. But yeah, so I'm gonna just do that one more time just to kind of hopefully I'll do a smaller pull. Maybe that'll actually be more realistic. Because what's weird about the Algothar pull is that it has a lot of mobs coming in from a lot of different directions. And as you're trying to get threat, if you're in like an actual scenario with DPS who are also going to start doing things and a healer who's healing you, which also is going to pull threat, you definitely want to the way you set up the pull is just a lot different than like a regular pull. So I should have pretty much everything up but Fortifying Brew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just can I grab 2 packs of Lashers maybe? Maybe that'll work. All right. So I'm going to open with a Keg, and then I can Cow, and then I can Breath for Flurry Strikes. Then I can Keg again, then Breath, and then I can Celestial Infusion, which goes Keg Breath, and then I know that I'm out of it, so I'm going to Purify. That didn't hit, so I'm going to Explode. Keg Breath, and then I can Purify again. Because I didn't get resets here, I'm going to Black Ox Brew, Purify. If I hits, I send. If I don't hit, what I'm saying is Keg Smash resets, I then will force it with a Celestial Infusion. And so this is all you're doing. You're basically just trying to send your brews as often as possible to get resets for Keg Smash. So I'm going to let myself perish here once again. But that's essentially when you're inside of your Black Ox window, it's Keg Breath as often as you can to make sure those Flurry Strikes are being discharged, doing heavy damage, heavy Breath of Fire. Now that's specifically in AoE. Again, like I said, if you're in single target, just fucking do your regular four sequence rotation. So if you're someone who does prefer to play Master of Harmony, your actual talent tree over here shouldn't change too much outside of maybe going into Bob and Weave. You're going to be relying a little bit less on your resets and your Apex talent because you're going to be focusing a lot of your energy into Tiger Palm because your Tiger Palm will also cleave with Overwhelming Force, dealing a ton of damage. Now, what's unique about Master of Harmony is in Raid, it's been common this season so far in the last, week that players run Fluidity and Motion. And the reason for this is because in like single target encounters in Raid, you want to really, really push out big Tiger Palms because of Blackout Combo, because of Meditative Focus, because of Counter-Strike, all of these amplifying talents. I don't recommend running Fluidity and Motion in keys because you just are going to end up spending more globals hitting your actual rotation. Maintaining Breath of Fire, you still want to Keg Smash for CDR, and you're going to be hitting other things that aren't necessarily just Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm, insert one ability. And so because of that, I just think it's better to run Shadowboxing Treads in Mythic Plus when you're playing Master of Harmony specifically. I've been getting this question a lot over the last week or two. People are just saying, do I have to play Shado-pan in Mythic Plus? Absolutely not. You can play both of these. They're both fairly competitive. And actually, through most of beta, Master of Harmony ended up being a stronger, at the very end of it, was a stronger choice. It was doing way more damage and it was just as tanky. But because of the nerfs, the damage actually falls short in AoE and falls off harder past 8 targets, where Shado-pan does not. Well, at least as much. And so, yes, you're going to be a little bit weaker in AoE. You'll probably bring a little bit more single target playing Master of Harmony, but either of them is totally okay. So whichever you're comfortable with, they both have unique playstyles now, where Shado-pan is very like Keg Breath focused. Master of Harmony is very Blackout Kick, Tiger Palm focused. They have different playstyles, so play whichever one you enjoy. The one thing I kind of want to mention is I expect to do a tips and tricks video for Brewmaster at the end of this week. once I kind of just get into Mythic Plus again. I want to see what things still work from beta. And once that happens, I'm going to do a tips and tricks video. So that's going to be revolving around things like like cool places to transcend, cool tanking strategies for like snapping mobs, for positioning bosses in a unique way or trash packs in a unique way. Ox Statue has some cool uses this season as well for syncing certain attacks. So I'm going to do a video guide about all of that in the probably about this next upcoming weekend at the end of this week. The last thing I want to talk about really quickly is the raid build. Now, I'm not a big raider. I do well in raid for the most part. I might post my parses on the screen if anyone cares. I do pretty okay in raid, and I want to talk about what the prioritization looks like in a raid environment or in a raid scenario. And so I'm going to just hit like a random dummy. I'll hit this guy here. And so what's unique about Brewmaster this season is I think for the first time in a very, very long time, we're playing Fluidity Emotion. Fluidity Emotion hasn't been good, I feel like, ever. But because of the meditative focus addition and just how the talent tree ended up playing out, the big thing in single target is, and raid specifically, is you really just focus on blackout kick, tiger palm, and then you insert a third ability. So instead of a 4 cast sequence like we're used to playing, we're now playing a 3 cast sequence, which means you're going, instead of like blackout kick, tiger palm, keg breath, and it's kind of reversed here. You're now going to go blackout kick, tiger palm, keg, blackout kick, tiger palm, breath, blackout kick, tiger palm, keg. And you're rotating that third ability between the two instead of basically just going 1, 2, 3, 4. You're now going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. But if that, I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna hit a dummy. One thing to note is you can play Charred Passions. I find that actually I was playing Dragonfire Brew all of my raid, and I found it to be relatively equal in damage. Maybe Charred Passions is a little bit better, but I don't like the maintenance of it, even though it ends up being fairly natural. I just don't like to lose out on damage when I could just every time I hit Dragon like Breath of Fire, it's gonna get used. But anyways, most people or guides will suggest to like your opening or your priority is blackout kick above everything else, which is true, except if you're gonna tank first, rolling in is gonna get you killed because you're not gonna have shuffle active. So I recommend opening with keg smash, but then you can go into your blackout kick. And so it's kind of weird, but basically how I've been opening is I'll start with a chi burst cast. So I'll chi burst into a keg, and then as I get up to the target, I'll go blackout kick, tiger palm, and then I breath because I want to get that breath active, and then I go blackout kick, tiger palm, keg, and then we go back to blackout kick, tiger palm, breath, blackout kick, tiger palm, keg, and you're basically just rotating between these. And then eventually, when you notice that you're energy starved, you can hit Celestial Infusion to make that keg smash free. But just know that that's on the global. So then we swap back to blackout kick, tiger palm, then the keg, and then we go blackout kick, tiger palm, breath. And so that is the cadence. So you always want to think about, as you're hitting your blackout kick, think what your third ability is going to be. So if I'm out of energy, you're going to do Celestial Infusion. If you're not out of energy, you'll keg smash. And then if you've already keg smashed, you Breath of Fire to make sure that is always applied, especially if you're running Charred Passions. You do want to be applying it every second, third cast in a sequence. That doesn't fucking, whatever. It's late. It's 1 in the morning. So that is what the general like raid opener and rotation. And it's really, really important that you maintain melee uptime. The reason for this is because if you're out of melee range, you obviously can't blackout kick, which is going to start to throw off your sequence or your cadence. So if you're like blackout kick, tiger palm, and then you're like running out and you're trying to like, then you're like not tiger palming right away or blackout kicking. And so you're losing those globals. So the most important thing for raid is that you're hitting blackout kick and tiger palm next to each other in the sequence and on cooldown. So anyways, I hope that helps your raid this next week, especially as we move into Mythic. The build that I've been running is really, really aggressive. And so if you notice you might be dying or you're taking a lot of damage, you can definitely start swapping. Like Fuel on the Fire is a really good thing to drop. You can drop that for Awakened Spirit or Awakening Spirits. If you're dying if you're still dying after that, you can drop Special Delivery and you can change that for Elixir of Determination, for example. This is for survivability purposes only. And then beyond that, you could technically drop Bob and Weave, except I think Bob and Weave actually ends up being better. If you're getting hit by a massive tank buster, you could go Ox Dance, even though I don't recommend that. High Tolerance is also a fine maneuver because it'll allow you to stagger for more. So there's defensive options in the tree, but this is what I've been running. and I've really been liking it. So anyways, I plan on streaming when I get home from work on Tuesday. I'm going to be running keys, and I plan on streaming all day Wednesday. I took the day off to just do keys and hang out with people on stream. So if you guys are looking to watch me do some keys, ask questions, and just hang out and vibe, I'll be streaming. So check it out. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this little video breakdown. Again, I apologize for the masterclass. It's coming. I promise. I'm a perfectionist and I want it to be really good. And also things have just been changing a little bit. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.